How surprised when you got the word that Matt Barkley was coming back? Your reaction was?
I said this twice, and I'm totally honest. I did it with Andrew Luck, and I did it with Matt Barkley. I threw up. Somebody's got to tell those guys they need to go after 3 years, and I don't know who it is, but maybe Larry Scott or somebody in our league should.
Hello, Duck fans. Welcome to the 2012 season where most of Oregon's teams are currently undefeated. Granted, only soccer and volleyball are underway, but this time next week, we'll have one football game under our belts as well. There's lots to go over, so let's get right into it. First off, soccer won their match against UAB to open the new Pape Field last week, then spent this past weekend playing matches against Portland and Portland State up in Portland, two schools with proud soccer traditions. The Ducks lost 2-0 to Portland on Friday. That's nothing to be ashamed of. The Pilots are one of the top soccer programs in the country. The Ducks rebounded on Sunday, earning a 1-0 victory over Portland State, thanks to a goal in the 49th minute by freshman sensation Kristen Parr. Volleyball, meanwhile, is in Columbus, Ohio right now for two tournaments. The Sports Impact Classic took place this past weekend with matches against Toledo, Houston, and Ohio State. The Ducks won all three matches, though it took a valiant comeback effort to take down number 24, Ohio State. The team is staying out in the Ohio area next to play in the Baymont Invitational in Athens, Ohio, with matches versus Western Carolina, number 13 Kentucky, and Ohio University before finally returning home. If you've been watching Pac-12 Network, they had glowing things to say about the Ducks in their volleyball preview, focusing specifically on the Terminator, Elena Bergsma. Look for Pac-12 Network to cover the Duck volleyball team with live matches very soon. And they're just a ton of fun to watch. Don't sleep on volleyball. The Ducks are currently ranked number 20th in the country. They have a fantastic team. Definitely worth your time. We'll have a big feature article on FishDuck.com all about the volleyball team on Tuesday from Jared Young, so be sure to check back for that. Cross country is also slated to open next week with the Pier Park Invitational taking place on Saturday around 11 a.m. in Portland, which means that if you want to check out both the cross-country meet and the kickoff for the start of football season, well, the Duck game isn't until 7:30, so depending on traffic on I-5, you might be able to catch both. Maybe. You know how traffic is on game days.
Well, we're coming to your city.
Oh, we're coming to your city. I hate that song, but I love what it represents. College game day and college football is back. All focus is on football, now less than a week away. The first collegiate game takes place this Wednesday. Then after that, we can look forward to college football games just about every single day of the week, now through November. And with the Pac-12 Network now available, it's going to be glorious. On Friday, the 2-deep depth chart was released for the Arkansas State game. The big news was that Marcus Mariota, say it right, Mariota, not Mariota, has been named the starting quarterback over Brian Bennett.
It's the right decision by Chip Kelly. In fairness, I don't know if he could have made the wrong decision. I think Marcus Mariota and Brian Bennett are similar players. Now, I do think Marcus Mariota possesses the skill sets to be very successful in Chip Kelly's offense.
But there were some interesting tidbits that we should touch on first. Carson York was not listed on the 2D, meaning he's still recovering from a surgically repaired knee, and I'm sure coaches are just being cautious, bringing him along slowly in the first month or so of the season. He will definitely play a part on that offensive line his senior year. The wide receivers and tight ends positions, I'm most intrigued by with 2012 to see who really steps up. And it definitely raised some eyebrows. Who is in the 2-deep? First, at tight end, the listed starter is true freshman Pharaoh Brown, not Colt Lyerla, who reportedly was still getting into game shape after missing summer workouts and much of fall camp. The position is extremely thin. Lyerla is the only player on the roster with game experience at tight end, so that's a big deal. At wide receiver, the listed starters are Josh Huff, no surprise, Darrell Hawkins, surprise, and Keenan Lowe, also a surprise. That means that Hawkins, who's spent as much time playing quarterback and running back at Oregon as he has at wide receiver, beat out guys like Rasan Vaughn for starting position, who, I had every expectation of Rasan Vaughn being a perennial, starter this year, having a huge year, as JCs often need a year to acclimate. Lowe and Hawkins are at the top of a long list of talented players vying for the spot. There's Eric Dungy and BJ Kelly, Devin Blackman, Will Murphy, Braylon Addison, just tons of players. So that's great for Keenan Lowe and Daryl Hawkins. And speaking of Braylon Addison, looks like he's a wide receiver. I thought he was going to be a running back, and others had speculated the same, but that doesn't mean he won't necessarily end up in motion coming into the backfield. When he gets on the field, expect him to be used all over, much in the way that D'Anthony Thomas was used last year. He's too good of an all-around athlete to not be utilized in some way to try to get him the ball in space. Another true freshman in addition to Addison and Pharaoh Brown that likely will be seeing the field is Byron Marshall, brother of Arizona State's starting running back Cameron Marshall. Byron reportedly really impressed in camp, and he's in line to get some carries in relief of Kenyon Barner and D'Anthony Thomas. But let's talk quarterback for a minute. Coaches have a lot to analyze, but as fans, we really don't. We've seen Bennett play sparingly in 8 games and a couple spring scrimmages, but that's 8 games more than what we've seen of Marcus Mariota play. Yet Mariota is now the man to start the season. It's not the first time that Chip has picked the best overall talent over experience. He did so in 2010 when Darren Thomas was selected over Nate Costa. And all the Ducks did that year was go to the national championship. Darn. That year's also significant for another valid point to keep in mind with the whole Mariota versus Bennett thing. Since Chip Kelly arrived in 2007 implementing the zone read spread, 2010 remains the only season when Oregon's starting quarterback hasn't missed playing time due to injury. And all they did was come down to a downed wrist and a few other BS calls away from winning it all. 2007, Dennis Dixon tore his ACL, Nate Costa tore his ACL, and Brady Leaf broke his foot. 2008, Nate Costa tore his ACL again, Justin Roper tore his MCL against Purdue, and Jeremiah Masoli got a concussion on the BS cheap shot in the Boise State game. 2009, Jeremiah Masoli hurt his knee against Washington State. 2010, while Darren Thomas managed to stay healthy, Nate Costa tore up his knee a third time in that fluke play against Washington where he fumbled the snap for an extra point. The only time he'd ever messed up a hold, and it cost him a shredded ACL once more. In 2011, well, Darren Thomas was injured, and Brian Bennett came in to help out. He filled in admirably in the Colorado game and the Arizona State game when Darren Thomas injured his knee. So if you count Costa's fluke knee injury in 2010 versus Washington, it's actually every single year that a quarterback has been hurt. I say this only looking at history and trends. I like Mariota a lot. I was there at the spring game watching him light it up. I hope Mariota does well. But for the people who immediately reacted online expecting Bennett to transfer out, take a look at history. Bennett is only 1 snap away from being the starter. And if Oregon's history under Chip is any indication, he will at some point get that opportunity to step in and play. And probably not just in mop-up duty. Mariota may not have game experience, but everyone from ESPN, Pac-12 Network, even LaMichael James, and just about every other news outlet has already proclaimed him to have the potential to be the best quarterback in Oregon history, and that is awesome. But no pressure on the kid, right? Only supposed to be the greatest ever. Of course, Mariota has the perfect mindset. Watch any interview he does. The way he carries himself, nothing rattles him. He's always calm. He's always talking about the team, not himself. Reporters have to pry answers of him actually talking about himself with a crowbar to get him to say anything but talking about the team. That persona is exactly what goes into being a quality quarterback and a team leader. All that's left is for him to turn it into production on the field. I'll tell you who he reminds me of, though. Nevada quarterback and now San Francisco 49ers backup quarterback Colin Kaepernick. And with all that Kaepernick did in college, that's not a bad thing. So the team is now going through a week of game prep, and Saturday we kick off the 2012 season in style. Fan Day was this past Saturday, and from what I heard, it went great. It was held out on the Autzen turf outside rather than inside the Mo as usual. There were players, cheerleaders, games for kids to play, the band, a good time. Tickets are still available for the Arkansas State game. That's the result of the visiting team only taking 200 to 300 tickets instead of the normal 2,000 ticket allotment for away teams fans, plus the fact that the students aren't on campus yet. So if you don't have a ticket yet and you're thinking you might want to go, go get out there. Get to Autzen, tailgate, have a great time, cheer on our Ducks, and help keep Autzen's consecutive home sellout streak alive. It currently sits at 82. It would be a real shame if the streak ended coming off the first Rose Bowl victory in 95 years. So if you're not sure what the color scheme is for opening day, everyone's supposed to wear the same color, they will list it on GoDucks.com prominently each week. For Arkansas State, make sure to wear green. And a few reminders about game day policies. If you go into the Mo Center before the game, make absolutely sure that you get the hand stamp. Otherwise, your ticket is invalid and you may not get into Autzen Stadium. So if you're going to go into the Mo and get some beers, watch games on TV, see the team march through, great, fantastic. Just make sure that when you leave, you get the hand stamp. I've gone, I forgot to get the hand stamp, and I almost didn't get in to see the game because once they swipe your ticket, it's no longer valid. You have to have that hand stamp if you want to leave the Mo, come back in, or if you want to get into the game, get into Autzen Stadium. We all do. Make sure you get the hand stamp. Also remember, drinking alcohol. You're allowed to drink alcohol in the lot before the game and during the game. You are not allowed to drink on the property after the game. City ordinance, that's a rules violation. You can be ticketed for that. So make sure if you're going to imbibe an alcohol, you do your drinking before the game or at halftime. Though, of course, I would prefer you stay in your seats at halftime. The team needs you at the start of the third quarter. Other than that, there's really nothing left to do except show up, be loud, be proud, have fun, be safe, and watch our Ducks win the day. Now, as for FishDuck.com, we're very excited about the upcoming season as well, as we'll have our staff writers and photographers on site for every game, documenting the events, bringing you our own unique spin on game days. We'll be reviving our weekly video analysis of the opponents before each game, so keep an eye out for that. And of course, if you're doing some last-minute shopping for the season, be sure to check out our new merchandise section on the site, where you can pick up some Oregon Ducks gear or some FishDuck.com stuff too. If you buy through our merchandise section, it helps fund FishDuck.com's operation costs, which are quite hefty in bringing you all of this great content each day for free. So by purchasing a FishDuck shirt or an Oregon jersey, you're helping us help you be the great, passionate, educated Duck fans that you are. For specific content this past week, Charles put together a video that broke down last year's loss to USC, really looking at USC's game plan, how they defeated the Oregon Ducks, and also what Oregon can do to counter that for this year, and why Oregon will beat USC this season. With all eyes on November 3rd, it's a can't-miss video, so check it out by clicking right here. And then for my interview series, I sat down with Isaac Walker, Big Ike, a defensive back in the 90s, all through those great gangrene defenses. Big Ike's a very funny guy. He's now a teacher in Compton, California, and he had some great stories to tell of the Ducks back in the early to mid-90s. So if you remember those days fondly, this is not an interview you'll want to miss. Check it out by clicking right here. We were also stacked with awesome articles this week, previewing the upcoming football season or recapping the first soccer victory at New Pape Field, some more great chalk talk with Coach Jason Farias, and other tremendous content. So be sure to subscribe to our weekly newsletter if you want to keep up on everything. Also, if you're a subscriber to the Oregonian newspaper, keep an eye out for our ad in the upcoming big football season preview coming out soon from our friends in Portland at that fantastic newspaper and all the great work that they do on OregonLive.com. Also, thanks to ASU Sun Devil Podcast, ESPN Pac-12 blog, and all the others that supported FishDuck this past week. Much appreciated. And now, my random tweet of the week.
Hey, will you shut up?
Thank you.
So that does it for me this week. This time next week, hopefully football will be 1-0, and cross country and volleyball and soccer are all in full swing as well. Go support our Duckies. Make sure to get your tickets for the Arkansas State game. And until next time, this is Kurt saying go fish, get hooked, go Ducks.